century. But some freshman House members are determined to forge a new path toward productivity when they're sworn in next year. One of those members is Democratic Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride of Delaware. She joins us now.
Congresswoman-elect.
Jeez. Now everyone has to be so happy, and everybody has to act like this is the greatest thing that ever happened. And everyone has to be like, especially on MSNBC and CNN, have to act like they're going to give her squad treatment. So she's instantly going to be on the level of a squad member. So she's going to be the greatest congressperson the greatest congressperson that ever walked the face of the earth. It's all pandering, right? So there's gonna be a level of pandering that's done around her, where every little thing she does is gonna be blown up as the greatest thing that ever happened.
Good morning to you. Good to see you. Tell me about how you are thinking about the realities of governing in the minority.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And it is an honor to serve the greatest state in the union, Delaware, in Congress.
Okay, so right off the bat, if you think Delaware is the greatest state in the union, right there, that's almost worse than thinking you're a chick. I think you thinking you're a chick is less of an egregious statement than Delaware being the best state in the union.
So much for having me. And it is an honor to serve the greatest state in the union, Delaware, in Congress. It's wonderful to be back home after 2 weeks of orientation. And look, we've got our work cut out for us. But as you mentioned in your opener, this small Republican majority is going to have to keep their entire caucus together. And what we know is that the House Republican caucus is not known for its unity. Over the last 2 years, they have been a caucus of chaos, and they've relied on Democrats to be the responsible governing party. And I think moving forward, what we're going to see is we're going to continue to see that chaos, even with Donald Trump trying to impose discipline. And time again, that will mean Democrats will have to step up to keep the lights on and the government moving forward. But that also...
Okay, so you're taking shots. So you're talking about them being chaotic. Fine, okay. You're taking shots. That's cool. I don't have a problem with that, Sarah McGroom.
Is going to increase our capacity to push back on the worst excesses of the Trump-Vance administration. When I ran, I said, I'm going to work with anyone who's willing to work with me to help Delaware. But time and time again, that's going to mean working with my colleagues to stop the dangerous policies of this administration as they staff up with.
Okay, another shot. Dangerous. Okay, so you're calling them dangerous.
Sure. Well, look, I'm really proud to be part of this amazing freshman class, and I have loved getting to know all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle who are coming into the 119th Congress over the last 2 years. And I'm sure there's diversity of thought within the freshman class, just as I'm sure there's diversity of thought across the caucus. But I think moving forward, what's clear is that this incoming administration clearly can't help themselves. They are going to put on full display the chaos, the incompetence, and the cruelty of this administration.
Okay, look here, Sarah McGroom. Chaos, incompetence, and cruelty. So you're talking smack about them. You're not using word. You're not being professional. Chaos, incompetence, cruelty. You're going below the belt. No pun intended. And you're talking trash. You're not like being some paragon or being above the fray. You're in the mud.
administration. But I also think we still have a responsibility to make sure that Social Security checks go out. We still have a responsibility to make sure that people can get their critical benefits that they rely on to get food or to keep their kids in school. And that doesn't mean that absolves anyone else of their responsibility. At the end of the day, the Republicans own all of this. But I think we also have to show that we are serious, mature adults, and let that maturity.
A guy who's dressed up like a chick has the audacity, man, and the unmitigated gall to talk about serious, mature adults. Are you serious, man? You're saying the Republicans aren't serious, mature adults. You're all the way in the mud while being dressed up like a chick.
And that seriousness of purpose contrast with the immaturity and the frankly incompetence of not just the Trump-Vance administration, but Republican leadership across the Congress.
Well, part of that.
Well, how do you know the Trump-Vance administration is not mature and incompetent? They haven't been sworn in yet, and everything they've done up until this point has been serious, very serious. I know you're a little upset because you can't use the girls' bathroom, but they have a gender-neutral bathroom, and why wouldn't you? Like, great. Why are you mad that you can't go in the girls' bathroom? Because this is what this is about. All these hate-laced words that he's using is he's upset, man. He's salty about not being able to use the little girls' room.
Contrast, the basic function of Congress is, in fact, to fund the government. Open question about whether or not that's going to get done under Republican leadership this year. This from NBC News. Congress faces a December 20th deadline to fund the government and avert a shutdown. And Speaker Mike Johnson says House Republicans will probably push the fight into early 2025 rather than reach a full year funding deal this year. Do you believe that will happen? Your reservations about this potentially getting pushed into January?
Well, I think it's a sad reflection of the current caucus that they can't get their work done in a timely fashion. But I'll be ready come January to do this job and to work with anyone to deliver for my constituents. But it is a sad testament that this Republican majority, with what is potentially going to be a larger majority than what they have in the next Congress, can't do the basic functions of their job. And I think this incompetence, over the last 2 years, it's been isolated to the House side where the Republicans had control. But now with full Republican control, I think it is going to be on full display for everyone. And I think it's going to have serious consequences for Republicans in 2 years.
How, you make...
You're going to have serious consequences for Democrats in 2 years, and in 4 years, and in 6 years, and in 8 years. Okay? Sarah McGroom. So let's see some of these comments, man. Sarah McBride is an American hero. The poise and dignity and intelligence she brings are remarkable. Well, that's because she's a guy. Most women have a different energy. They come to, like, if you look at Jasmine Crockett, AOC, what's the other one? Everybody in the squad, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Women politicians have a different energy. He's a guy, so he has the poise and the he's a guy. So this one says she's already accomplished lots for Delaware. We're very lucky to have her fighting for democracy and all people in the House. You go, Congresswoman. It was refreshing to hear the voice and the passion of a newly elected representative of Delaware. If her being trans and serving her state is your greatest fear, actually, it's not a fear. It's just a precedent. Like, yo, it starts with a drop, and then it ends up the bucket's full. Next thing you know, and the next thing you know, the floor's flooded. And the next thing you know, it's Noah's Ark all over again. So just trying to nip this in the bud, really early. And, you can do anything you want. You become a congressperson. You just can't use the little girl's room. You got to use the general neutral bathrooms. That's it. And yeah, you can't play in the WNBA. But why would you want to? Don't you care about the women that have objections to that? Isn't it believe all women? Well, if one woman objects to it, then it's fine. If one woman that's what I was told. If one woman doesn't like it, then as a man, you stand down. So, okay. So a lot of women don't want you in the bathroom. So as a man, stand down. This woman sets a great example of what all representatives in the House should aspire to. Let me read that sentence again. This woman sets a great example of what all representatives in the House should aspire to. She is amazing. Do you realize how disrespectful this is to women? This is so disrespectful to women. She doesn't take Republican bait, but insists on doing her job. Good on her. The comments below are shameful. All the comments are good, man. What are you talking about? Everybody thinks this is the greatest thing that ever happened publicly. Now, it's kind of like Kamala. Oh, she's great. And then everybody closed that curtain, looked around, make sure nobody was and voted for Trump. So what bunch of these people here who are saying all this stuff, they don't believe in this stuff. They think this is lunacy. They think it's crazy town. And they're just saying this because this is what people in polite society are supposed to say. It's good to see an honorable political leader rising above the fray despite all the mean-spirited attacks against it. This Oregonian is cheering for Sarah. As a member of the LGBTQ community, I admire your strength and dedication. There's so much ugliness out there. No comment. And you are rising above it. Much respect. She exudes class all the way. Congrats on your win. Articulate, respectful, graceful. Miss McGroom is a person first. She's got grit. I appreciate that. Yeah, she's a guy. Got grit. Trump should ask McGroom for pro tips on how not to take the bait. What an absolute class act. Nancy, Mike, and the rest of the House, MAGA clown caucus, are such an embarrassment to our country. So Nancy, the woman fighting to keep women's bathrooms for women, is the clown. The guy dressed up with his face caked up with women's makeup is what everyone should aspire to be. Y'all gonna get trounced in 2026 and 2028. I mean, it's gonna be a bloodbath. What a cool, classy, intelligent woman. Contrast her to the likes of Mace, MTG, and Bo Bear, who are absolute jokes. You mean absolute chicks? All these people saying that the actual women are horrible and this guy's the best chick around. They don't understand how offensive they're being. So the guys who don't wash their hands want to be in charge of all bathroom breaks. LOL. Nah, nobody wants to be in charge of bathroom breaks, man. It's not about that, man. You know that. She looks more and speaks better as a woman than MTG. Wow. This stuff is offensive. The fact that these women aren't speaking out against it, this is offensive. This is like when Terrell Owens got on First Take and said that Max Kellerman was more black than Stephen A. Smith because he panders to black people. It's just, this is offensive. This one says, what revolting, bigoted comments. I think Sarah McBroom is amazing. What bigoted comment? Everybody thinks this is the greatest thing that's ever happened in the history of the world. What are they talking about?
You know, you make history. You come in the room, and in a way that no one else has, being the first transgender member of Congress. And there's something about being the first in anything. It's a weight that you carry, but it's a weight you try to quickly offload because you want to get to work. You also have those around you who, quite honestly, have been shameful in their behavior towards you, including.
But he's not shameful for wanting to use a women's bathroom. That used to be shameful. But now the woman who doesn't want him in the women's bathroom, she's the shameful one now.
The Speaker of the House and in sort of leveling up stupid around bathrooms.
He just called a woman stupid. A woman Congresswoman, Nancy Mace, called her stupid. She's stupid. What about the sensitivity towards women? Trump was deemed as this bad because he called the women, he called Rosie O'Donnell ugly, and he called a bunch of other women stupid, and he said Kamala had a low IQ, and he was racist for that, and he was misogynist for that. He just called Nancy Mace stupid.
Your approach was, I thought, a very smart one that showed you're about the business of why you were elected to represent the people of Delaware. You don't give a damn about a bathroom. I'll work that out. If y'all worried about where I go to the bathroom, y'all got bigger problems than me.
Nah, not really. If you walk into the women's bathroom, let's just say, Michael Steele, you dress up, you're a little older. Let's just say you're getting a big mama outfit, right? And you or Medea outfit or something like that, right? And you go in a women's bathroom, that's gonna be a problem too, man.
Me, right? And I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Talk a little bit about not so much that moment, because that's just immaturity. I mean, even on playgrounds, they don't get that stupid.
Called Nancy Mace stupid again. Trump would have called the woman politician who dragged him through the mud. Now, here's the thing. Trump calls women who talk cash shit about him, who call him the most vilest things. He calls them names back. And he's deemed a misogynist and a racist. This guy, Nancy Mace, hasn't said 2 words about him, and he's calling her stupid.
But talk about what it means for you in this moment to walk into that hall to be in that chamber and to sit at that desk to represent the people of Delaware?
Well, I didn't run to be a first. I didn't run to make history. I ran to serve this state that I love and to deliver for Delawareans. I ran to continue the work that I've done in the Delaware State Senate, where I passed paid family and medical leave and secured the largest investment in our state's Medicaid program since the Affordable Care Act passed. And I did that by bringing Democrats and Republicans together. I'm in Congress to deliver for my constituents, to make healthcare, housing, and childcare more affordable. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity. I think on November 5th, Delawareans showed the country what I've known throughout my life, that in our state of neighbors, we judge candidates based on their ideas and not their identities. And over the last 2 years, or over the last 2 weeks, there's certainly been a lot of noise around me, but I've remained focused during the course.
So you're calling women's concerns about, the sanctity, safety, and fidelity, the fealty of women's bathroom, the security. You're calling that noise. Gosh, that's disrespectful. Just noise. Women have an issue with something. Even if there's one, we know there's more because that campaign ad was very successful. And it wouldn't have been so successful if it was just one person who had a problem with this type of stuff. There's millions of women who have a problem with this stuff. And they voice their concerns. And Nancy Mace is their champion. And you're calling it noise.
Of the last 2 weeks, I met with colleagues. I attended orientation. We found our office. We are setting up our office to do the business of Delawareans in DC. And I have to be honest, this week was awe-inspiring, being at orientation, despite all of the noise. Because as you are there, you realize you are in the body that Abraham Lincoln served in. We walked onto the House floor.
And you are in the body that Scott McBride served in.
And you're in the space where they passed the 13th Amendment and the 14th Amendment, where women got the right to vote. You're sitting in the chairs in.
Yeah, women got the right to vote. And women have voted and said with their voices they don't want you guys in their bathroom. You called it noise. And Michael Steele called it stupid.
In the job where people pass the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, and you feel that responsibility, but also you feel that you are part of a tradition because every single one of your predecessors served in incredibly tumultuous, challenging times. And enough of them fulfilled their responsibilities to be stewards of our democracy. And that is our calling in this moment. And I feel it very deeply.
We had one of our producers who found a piece that you had written while at American University back in 2013. I want to read to you just a little bit of what you had to say a decade ago and then get your thoughts about it on the other.
And this is the greatest dissertation in the history of the world.
Side, you wrote, "Today is the next day of the life I've already had, but at the same time, the first day of the life I always knew I wanted to lead. I am now blessed with the opportunity to live my dream and fulfill a truth I have known since childhood. My gratitude is great to my family, friends, and this university for accepting me as the person who they now know me to be and for letting me show them the possibilities of a life well lived. I know now that my dreams and my identity are only mutually exclusive if I don't try." How has your thinking on this evolved in the past decade?
When I wrote that note, I had faced throughout my life a crisis of hope. I worried that the heart of this country wasn't big enough to love someone like me. And over
the heart of this country is bent over backwards so much in the last. We've bent ourselves into a pretzel to accommodate you. This is offensive. What do you mean you wonder if this country has, you guys have more power than anyone. Before Trump got elected, you couldn't even mention, you couldn't say anything about you guys. You guys were not just a protected class, but you guys had a air, a status that like, and also like almost it was like a status of a mob boss, of a gun-toting goon, because of the fear that you struck in people's heart, and when faced with just addressing you. Like addressing you, the dread people had with just addressing you, because if one thing was said wrong, you could lose your job. Then you also have the angelic deity where it's like you have to be pandered to, so everything you do is the greatest, stunning and brave, and no one can ever say anything critical about. So we've bent ourselves backwards into a pretzel to accommodate you. How dare you get on here and pretend to cry and act as if this country has not, as if you were some trans person born in the 1950s or something. 2013, right? That's when you did your thing. You've grown up in an age where you have the highest status in this country.
The last decade, I have been able to bear witness to change that once seemed so impossible to me as a kid that it was almost incomprehensible. And I have seen it not only become possible, but become a reality.
I'm glad she cleaned that up. Because you guys are the top dog in the whole pecking order of Americans. And I'm black, so I understand. I know how it is to be pandered to, how it is to be given all types of things, given allowances, given, points on the SAT, allotments, and all this stuff. I understand. I know how it is. But you guys, it's just on. It's way. It's like it's insane. So I mean, I get it. I'm not trying to sit here and act like I haven't received those graces from America.
And I carry that with me in this moment because I think in so many ways, this country, on both sides of the political divide, this country is facing its own crisis of hope. And I know we still have both the individual and collective capacity to meet the scope and the scale of the challenges that we face. And I know, because I have seen it, that nothing is truly impossible.
I mean, hate to tell you, bud, but there's one thing that is impossible, man. Changing an X to a Y, man. Changing a Y to an X. That's impossible.
So what? It's hard to even ask a question.
Yeah, she just mic dropped, so that's why you feel like we're supposed.
Yeah, she's the greatest thing. Listen, she's a guy. If she was a chick, she would have been very emotional and all over the place, and it would have been, it would have been answered completely different. She's a guy, so she answered it like a dude, like, you know what I mean, like very reasonable, logical. He's a guy. So she's logical and she's reasonable. She's reasoned. She's centered. She's a guy. Get in the comment section, hit the like button, man. Subscribe, man. The only place you're gonna get this, man. You're not gonna get it like this nowhere else, man. Politics, crime, whatever. Make sure you subscribe. Peace. I'm out of here.